F1 has always wanted a part of the American market when it comes to F1. From races on the beach of Florida to the deserts of Arizona to the parks of New York, F1 has never really been able to get into the American market. In 2012, however, the Circuit of the Americas was introduced and became a staple in the F1 calendar. Once Drive to Survive was introduced, the American interest in F1 grew, and this meant that F1 returned to Florida to race in Miami, then Las Vegas this year. But back in 2005, it appeared F1 had a stable base in the United States at the home of IndyCar, Indianapolis. But through one race, F1 lost its stability when only 6 cars started. This is a story of the 2005 US Grand Prix. But how did F1 get its start in the state of Indiana? From 1950 to 1959, F1 raced at the Indy 500, but it's not an official part of the championship, so it doesn't really count. In 1959, F1 visited Sebring for the first official US Grand Prix, a race there for only 1 year before the promoters barely made a profit, so they decided not to host the race the following year. This meant that in 1960, F1 went to Riverside in California, where once again the same money problems happened. This meant from 1961 to 1980, F1 raced in Watkins Glen on the outskirts of New York. It was a much loved event, but once safety became a problem, the track organisers went into debt to the FIA and the race was cancelled. From 1976 to 1983, there was a United States Grand Prix West in Long Beach, where the race organisers decided that the race was too expensive, so it got cancelled. But in 1981, Las Vegas hosted the Caesars Palace Grand Prix, which perhaps had the worst track ever and was one of the worst races in all of F1 history, which is ironic that I'm making this video just after the Las Vegas Grand Prix. The next year the race was still held in Las Vegas, but with the addition of the Dallas Grand Prix in Dallas, which was held until 1988, Las Vegas then fell off the calendar for 1983, thankfully. From 1989 to 1991, Phoenix held the race, but then it was cancelled for allegedly not having good enough seat locations for fans, but the real reason is not known. This meant for 9 years there was no US race, and until 1991, when Tony George, the owner of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, made a deal that would see the Brickyard return to the calendar, but not on the Speedway. The track would have modifications made over the next 2 years, with there being a pit buildings built and media centres built, but most importantly an infield section was built that would take the track to a little over 4 kilometres, would include the famous banking as the last corner. The track would run backwards to what the oval was, and the first corner would head into the last corner of the banking, but not take it, as it would turn into the infield, with the track heading through several fast corners and then to a long straight, and then heading into a 90-degree corner, then through 2 hairpins into yet another 90-degree corner that leads into the track, back onto the speedway, and then through the final corner, which would be the first corner of the speedway itself. So the last corner would be the banking. In 2000, Ferrari would secure a 1-2, and then the next year would see Mika Hakkinen win his final race in the wake of the September 11th attacks. In 2002, Ferrari would once again get a 1-2 finish that is most famous for the picture of the dead heat Michael Schumacher tried to perform, which is one of the best F1 image, and this is immortalised in the memories of those who have seen it. The next year, Schumacher would win in the wake of the Michelin tyre scandal, where the Michelin tyres would allegedly deform during the race, giving the drivers more grip. These tyres were later banned, giving Bridgestone a massive advantage. In 2004, Fernando Alonso would have his tyre fail on the 9th lap following a safety car, so bear in mind behind the safety car for 3 laps, you've only done about 7 laps of proper running. On the next lap, Ralf Schumacher, brother of Michael, would also have a tyre failure, and this would throw him into the wall backwards, cause him to break his back. Fisichella would then have a tyre failure, but he would make it back to the pit lane. Both Schumacher and Alonso were on Michelins, but Fisichella would be on Bridgestones, and with this, it was concerned that the tyres were failing, as all on the rears. This was at a time where tyre failures were more rare and when tyres could actually be raced. In 2005, they introduced a rule where tyres could not be changed during the race, and this provided to be a bad rule, as at the Nürburgring, Kimi Räikkönen would suffer a tyre failure on the final lap due to him locking up earlier in the race. The flat spot caused by this lockup would cause vibrations and cause a tyre failure in the last lap and would slide across the track and just miss the BAR of Takuma Sato by millimetres, and this, along with McLaren's reliability problems, probably cost him the championship. So, a track historically with tyre failures and a rule which stops people from changing tyres, what could possibly go wrong? Heading into the race weekend, Fernando Alonso had a 22-point lead over Räikkönen, and Schumacher was in 5th, with Ferrari not having got a single win that season after the season of dominance that was 2004. During practice, Ralf Schumacher would suffer a tyre failure heading through the final corner, which, as previously mentioned, is the only bank turn on the circuit, and in the same place that he crashed the year prior. He didn't break his back, but he had to sit out the weekends. This meant that Ricardo Zonta had to fill in, but he had a crash in the same place as well. The Toyota team that Schumacher was racing for were running Michelins. The tyres had 2 failures the previous year, and a total of 4 in 2 years. But why? The banking of the corner produced a high load on the tyres, and as it was the only major bank turn on the calendar, produced a unique challenge that no other track had. So tyre manufacturers did not produce tyres to specifically cater to the circuit. The track was resurfaced so it had extra grip, and combined with the fact that it was diamond cut, which means that grooves were cut into the track, meant there was extra cutting on the tyres, which was not seen at any other track. Michelin did not understand why this was happening, but Bridgestone did, as their subdivision. Firestone provided tyres for the Indy 500, so they had an understanding of the track and its problems. Due to the tyre change rule, the Michelin teams could not change their tyres, even though they were being ripped to shreds and would probably explode at some point. Michelin then wrote a letter to the FIA asking for changes to the track or to the rules, but the FIA rejected it. Paul Stoddard, the team principal of Minardi, and Bridgestone team arranged a meeting over solutions with all the team principals, except Ferrari's Jean Todt. A speed limit through the banking was considered, but it was too dangerous. A chicane was suggested, and everyone liked the idea, but it was thrown out by Todt, and Max Mosley said if the chicane was implemented, the race would not happen. So they decided to run a non-championship race, where points were not counted towards the championship, but the race still happens, but without the FIA. They planned to put in a new board of stewards, a safety car driver, and everything that the FIA used, they would replace. The drivers did not complain to this idea, but the Ferrari drivers did not have an opinion on the matter, or at least that's what they told the group. After all the pressure and the potential problems, they decided that come race day, all Michelin teams would not start the race. The formation lap began, and everyone thought the race would start normally, although there were some rumours about the meeting and what was discussed. Heading towards the end of the lap, Renault, McLaren, Toyota, Red Bull, BAR, Williams and Sauber all pulled into the pits to not start the race, in front of the entire world. This left Ferrari, Jordan and Minardi to pull onto the grid and start the race as beer cans rained down on the circuit. Boos echoed out throughout the speedway, drowning out the sound of the V10s. As the 5 red lights went out, the 6 cars pulled away. The race was fairly boring, and other than the Ferraris almost colliding, which would have just been a little bit funny, nothing happened. Over 100,000 people left the track, and those who stayed held up signs blaming Ferrari, Mosley and Bridgestone for this. The Ferraris lapped everyone except each other as Schumacher won. Before the race, Paul Stoddard said that if both Jordans retired, he would pull in both Minardis, as for both teams points were rare, and he was maybe one of the last people in F1 who saw it as a team sport, where sportsmanship was more important than profit. At the end of the race, the Ferrari team collected their awards and left. Meanwhile, Montero was celebrating his first and only podium in F1 for Jordan and was going absolutely mental whilst F1 was booing. This race ruined F1's reputation in the States, with fans not being given money back, so others gave out tickets and compensation. Michelin gave out tickets for next year's race, and Champ Car gave out tickets as well to their races. Not only did F1 and the FIA make the race not happen with any compromise or anything, but refused to apologise to the fans by helping them out. This is similar to the Belgian Grand Prix of 2021 or Las Vegas weekend, where fans weren't allowed to attend FP2 when tickets were $500 each for grandstands. From this point, there was only 2 more races in Indy for F1 until it fell off the calendar for 2008. It wasn't until 2012 when F1 visited the United States. It was really this event that caused F1, Bridgestone, Michelin and the FIA to all lose credibility in an event that almost killed F1. Thank you so much for watching. I had this video planned since August for the Las Vegas weekend, and the similarities were very coincidental, and the problems in Las Vegas will be explored either tomorrow or Tuesday in the race recap. Anyway, if you have enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and if you haven't enjoyed, please tell me why in the comments below, and I'll see you later.